Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Sarah Murphy, 2023 Chair of the Riders Regional Chamber Board of Directors.
Good morning. Welcome to this morning's Eggs and Issues. We are grateful for the ongoing support of our host sponsor, Houston Healthcare, who we just heard from in the video, and for our longtime presenting series sponsor, Synovus. At this time, I'd like to welcome Ron Weigel to lead the invocation and pledge and share a few words and hopefully a joke. Or hopefully not.
Sarah, because you're standing back there, I need you to smile to help me out. Might help the crowd some. If y'all will stand with me, we'll ask for the blessing. Lord, we come to you with grateful hearts and a spirit of community to enjoy this breakfast together. We recognize who you are and what you do for us, not only in this community but just across the globe. And so we just ask that you give our leaders continued discernment, compassion, and wisdom as it relates to things of the community. We ask that you instill your will on us to help others and to be sensitive to needs, because there's a lot of need in our community despite the fact that you have blessed us in many ways. And we just want to thank you for all the blessings that you give us in the food this morning. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Join me in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank y'all. Y'all be seated. Now, here comes the fun part. This is what you really came for, right? Sarah said, just let me know when to smile. You know it's bad.
That's so much better.
Yes, exactly.
All right. What did the grape say when I got stepped on? Nothing. It just let out a little whine. Okay. All right. That's big. Okay, I have one more. April's not going to scoop me off the stage just yet. Why does the Norway Navy have barcodes on their battleships? So when they get back to port, they can Scandinavian. That was better. Hey, y'all, on a serious note, I'm grateful to represent Synovus, and I'm even more proud that we're a part of the Chamber and what the Chamber does for our community. Advocacy, there's so many things that our Chamber and our Chamber leadership, thank you Sarah, does for our community, and we feel a part of that. And this Eggs and Issues series is just part of that, because from my perspective, I look at it as if there's a thread, it's a thread of community. And community is big to me, as I know it is to everybody. And so from our part, I think that's a common thread with our bank, Synovus. It's, we work hard to be a good steward. This community is important to us, and we work hard to be a good steward, not only to our customers, but to do our part to help the community as a whole. And while you might not see that, you'll see some of our team in the community not only serving with hands and feet, I call it, because there's some stuff that just requires work, There's some times that you're going to see us and, I'll ask for help on this, but we're very passionate about financial literacy. That's the gift that our team has been given to help our community. So where there's a need for financial literacy, just plug us in. And so those same team members that you see in the community doing those things are the same team members that are serving our customers and helping you from an advisory, consultative type thing with, type relationship background with all of the resources that we have. So I'm grateful and thankful to our clients. I'm grateful and thankful to the Chamber and the community for giving us an opportunity and a place to play. So thank y'all.
Thank you, Ron. Today's session is also sponsored by American Pride Bank. Additional support is also provided by ICB Construction Group and Mission Critical Comfort Solutions. At this time, I'd like to call up John Hall, President and CEO of American Pride Bank, to give sponsor remarks.
Thank you and good morning. And I'm not going to try and follow Ron with his jokes because I've heard him all too many times and he is a much better joke teller than I am. So, Ron, keep up the good work on that front. American Pride Bank is honored to be here today and be one of the sponsors of today's Eggs and Issues. As you all know, Robbins Regional Chamber does a fantastic job of hosting events like this to keep us all so well informed on all the great happenings that are going on in Houston County in Middle Georgia. So thank you all for that. We're glad to be a small part of it this morning. It's a pleasure to be with you, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about American Pride Bank. I love talking about the story of our bank, so I'll try and keep it short. April told me I had 25 minutes, so I'll try and keep it within that. I know y'all not here to hear me speak, so I'll keep this very brief. American Pride Bank was founded 16 years ago in Middle Georgia, which is where we're headquartered. We have 3 offices in Middle Georgia, 3 full-service branches, our closest being to here, being Russell Parkway. And we also have an office, full-service branch in Athens, and then have a loan production office in North Metro Atlanta. American Pride Bank is a true community bank. And when I say that, what I mean is we're all about relationship banking. We know our customers by name, and we respond very quickly to requests and needs because we don't have a lot of bureaucracy. We have a team of very experienced and knowledgeable bankers, some of whom are here with us today. If y'all would raise your hands there in the middle. Thank y'all for being here with us. And these folks are all about delivering superior service to our customers and responding quickly to their needs. We have a full suite of banking products and services to meet those needs and can tailor solutions to our customers, whether it be small business or individual consumers. What we do every day is not about us, but it's about making sure that our customers succeed and thrive. And I'll leave you with one thought, and that is that if you don't currently bank with us, I just ask that you give us the opportunity to be of service to you. I can assure you would be very glad that you did, and I give you my commitment that our team will be there for you, and they will provide the kind of customer service that community banking is all about. And with that, I know y'all aren't here to hear me speak, so I will now thank the Robbins Regional Chamber again for having us, letting us sponsor, and thank y'all all for being here today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Today's program was originally scheduled for November. The theme is livability. The way we define it, livability is the sum of the factors that add up to a community's quality of life, including the incredible collaboration we have among our elected leaders and community partners. Here in Houston County, we pride ourselves on our attractive quality of life, and one of the big contributors to that is the infrastructure improvements, resources, and growth accommodations made possible by our citizens' continued support of the SPLOST and our municipalities working together to prioritize projects for regional benefit. So when we learned that the SPLOST would be on the ballot this November, we knew we needed to alter our fall schedule for Eggs and Issues to provide an opportunity for us to all learn more before Election Day. This particular SPLOST is a joint effort of Houston County and our 3 cities, Warner Robins, Perry, and Centerville. So who better to hear from than our mayors and county commission chairmen? At this time, please help me welcome them all to the stage, along with our President and CEO, April Bragg, to moderate.
Good morning, everybody. Oops, am I on in the back? Good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning. I'm going to try this one more time. Good morning.
Good morning. There we go. I am on. Just sit wherever. We can have you sit here, Mayor Patrick, Mayor Harley. There we go. So, as Sarah said, we were excited to be able to bring this message to this group. We feel like, as a convener of leaders and influencers in our community who make things happen, who better to learn about not only the previous successes, of the SPLOST, but also the incredible opportunities we have with what is being presented on the ballot in November. We are hopeful that you guys are going to take what you hear and help us spread this message to the larger community, your employees, so that they have a greater understanding of what this is. I know the chairman's going to kick us off and really talk about what the SPLOST is, but real quick, I want to echo what Sarah said about livability, and that being the theme for our breakfast today. So it really is that sum of the things that attribute to our quality of life. So that's both built and natural environment, economic prosperity, our social stability and equity, educational excellence, culture, entertainment option, and recreation possibilities. And when I think about that, none of those things would be possible to the level at which they are without our community's continued support of this SPLOST. So I'm excited to have our community leadership today to talk about the wonderful projects that are being worked on and are going to be made possible by this SPLOST. So, Mr. Chairman, we'll start with you and just kind of let's start from the ground up and explain what a SPLOST is. Single
There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Good morning. Thank you all for being here this morning. And April, thank you, and the Chamber, thank you for this opportunity to talk about what has been a very impactful program in Houston County and its 3 cities, and what we hope will continue to be an impactful program for this community. As you know, I'm fairly new in my role, and when I sit down in conversations, sometimes people start the conversation assuming that I know a lot more than I really know. Have you ever been in those situations where someone starts throwing out maybe some acronyms, or they think you know some history, or they start on second base and you're still in the warm-up circle, right? And so I want to start from a really basic level and talk about what SPLOST is, so that we're all on the same page about what SPLOST is. And SPLOST stands for Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax. That is the beautiful acronym that is somehow pronounceable.
Rolls off the tongue.
Yes. And it is a 1% sales tax that we have historically had since about the mid-90s in our community. And it is voted on by the citizens of the county to reauthorize. And since we're in partnership, the county and the 3 cities, since we're in partnership together, that vote occurs every 6 years. If we were not in partnership, it would occur every 5. And we start the process by really anticipating how much money we think we can bring in, and then we begin to identify capital projects. And that's also an important distinction with the SPLOST. It cannot be used for operations and maintenance. It is not used for operations and maintenance. It can only be used for capital investment. So we're talking about roads and buildings and parks and stormwater and sewer and water, really infrastructure items that we look for in our community. So that's sort of the short definition of what SPLOST is. It has a long history of good support in this community.
Very good. And I know you mentioned that it's been around since the 90s. Just share a little bit about, is this a new tax? Is this a tax on top of what we're already paying? And kind of explain how that works.
Yeah, so we are currently under a SPLOST. That SPLOST will expire September 30th of 2024. And for lots of reasons, planning purposes with the county and the city, and other reasons, we're going to hold the election in November of 2023 to reauthorize the SPLOST to start again as soon as it terminates at the end of September 2024. So no, it's not an additional tax. It will not be a tax increase. It will merely be a continuation of the tax that we're already under. And I want to point out a couple of things there. Number one, Houston County, countywide currently enjoys a 7% sales tax. As you begin to look around at a lot of the surrounding communities, you are finding more and more instances in which 7% is a strategic advantage for us, and presents a very advantageous purchasing environment, for lack of a better term. You have communities now tending towards 8 and 9%, and we think that 7% is a real good place to be and is a strategic advantage for our community. In addition to that, it is not borne solely by the citizens of this county. It is really, we are a shopping and retail hub, and we have people from a lot of surrounding counties, whether they be traveling through to visit industry like Purdue or Frito-Lay or the Robbins Air Force Base, or whether they merely live in Twiggs County and want to come to a nice restaurant that we happen to have. We get the benefit of all that sales tax that is generated, paid by people who want to shop, want to eat, want to participate in the retail environment in our county. So it's a big advantage for us that way, that it's not borne just by the citizens of Houston County.
Absolutely, and coming from living in Dublin and then Milledgeville, before moving here, we came to Warner Robins very often, and so, this is a tax burden that is shared with our neighbors and friends in surrounding communities. So you mentioned that this is a joint tax and a collaboration, and I know we kind of hit on this every single time, but this kind of collaboration we have in here in Houston County is truly an envy of friends and partners across the state, the southeast, and the country. It's not something you see in every community, and for that we are certainly grateful. But Mr. Chairman, so what does this look like from a division of funds? How are the funds then divided among the various municipalities?
Yeah, so first of all, what we have historically done in Houston County is that we identify really sort of some top tier, what we call county-wide projects. And I'm trying to click here and the clicker's not working, so if y'all can just go to the next slide. But we identify what we call top tier sort of county-wide projects. And those are not necessarily projects that are occurring all over the county, but they are projects which we think will affect everyone in Houston County. And so the first thing we do is we set a budget, and the budget for the 2024 SPLOST is $200 million. The budget for the 2016 SPLOST was $145 million. So as our county has grown, and as we've experienced good times, we have seen that the sales tax revenue can grow as well. So we set that budget of $200 million, and then we begin to back out straight off the top, before any money is divided amongst the 4 municipalities represented. We back out what we call county-wide projects. These are large projects that if any individual municipality were really to try to do them on their own, it would probably consume most or a significant portion of their individual SPLOST. But that we see them as having an impact countywide. Again, that doesn't necessarily mean that they happen all over the county. It just means that they are impacting every citizen in Houston County. So typically, the percentage of countywide projects really approaches 50%, and we're right at 45% with the planning process on this year's SPLOST. And so if you back out that $90 million for countywide projects, the remaining $110 million in the SPLOST is then distributed amongst the 4 municipalities based on their population. So you start, in Centerville and Perry and Warner Robins and see what population they consume, and then it's distributed to the county based on the unincorporated population that remains in the county. So we feel like that has worked well in the past, and we discussed possible other allocation methods, but it's sort of one of those things, if it's not exactly broke, don't try to fix it. And so that's the allocation method that we're using again, and it ensures that we're able to capture and do big sort of banner projects that everybody can hang their hat on and say is an excellent use of this money for the citizens of Houston County, and also give the cities and the county an individual opportunity to decide how that's SPLOST money is spent.
Yeah, makes sense to me, and the projects are, of course, what I think a lot of us can get excited about and hang on to from a terms of need. So we're going to divide the questions up by municipality. So typically like to popcorn the questions around, but I think it'll make a little bit more sense to you in the audience if we do it that way. I also want to remind you, in addition to the cards for the deployed airmen that we've got on your tables, there are also some blank note cards. Unlike our typical Eggs and Issues breakfast, we will be taking questions from the audience if we have time at the end, and there's some pens there. So as our panel is speaking, if you have a question about either a particular project or the SPLOST as a whole, please jot those down and we'll pass those in near the end of the program. So Mayor Harley, we're going to start with you. If you could just start us off with some of the previous SPLOST accomplishments in the city of Centerville.
Is it working? Nope. Okay.
Single tap.
Push that. There we go.
There's a mute button.
There you go.
Surprising you, yeah. Hit the mute button to make it work. You know, Centerville, April, you're absolutely right. Centerville is actually, has grown because of the SPLOST. So up to 2003, Centerville operated out of a single dilapidated building. I mean by that, everything was in that building. So from the mayor's office to the fire department, if Jason can remember, the police department. We even had a library in there earlier than that, a wild big library. Water and sewer was in there. Every operation of the city was in that one building. And the building been put together over the years. It was a crazy operation. But in 2003, at the second SPLOST, we were able to build City Hall. And since then, you know, this thanks to the Houston County voters, we now have a new library, which a lot of people enjoy, new City Hall, new police department, a new fire department, wonderful fire department, courthouse, water and sewer sanitation building, and our beautiful park, what we call the Center Park, which is the center of our city. Now, the countywide projects have also had a great impression on us too, because it's countywide, so we get the benefits of it. That's a great thing. Our direct portion of the proposed 2024 SPLOST, I say proposed, is about $5.4 million. We're going to be using that to purchase and improve or replace public safety equipment, facilities, and vehicles. We need some more new fire truck, for example. The old one we have is a 1956 model. It still works well, but we need a new one.
Classic.
Right. It's a classic. You know. And it's great for the parades. But it does operate. So we're happy about that. We also will do things in water and sewer improvement, infrastructure. Always have things to do in that area. Recreation. We plan on building an amphitheater as part of this. We're really looking forward to doing it, part of our Center Park area, so it's got a great opportunity there. And one of the very important things we want to do is to relocate our recycling center into a larger area and put some new equipment in there. You know, that equipment's been there since we put it there in the 1970s, late 70s. You know, and everybody gets to use our recycling center. And we appreciate that too. It's not restricted just to our city. Everybody is welcome to recycle and stuff there. Yeah, but none of this would be possible, would have been possible, without the support of the citizens, through the SPLOST. Because there's no way with our population we could afford to do it with taxes. At least not our current tax rate. We'd have to make our mills rate up to the 20s, I guess. Don't ever want to do that. And I don't want to do that either, since I pay taxes myself. Well, you know personally? So, anyhow, last thing I want to say is that all the citizens of the city of Centerville sincerely thank our voters out there for supporting us with the SPLOST over these years. If it hadn't been for our voters here, the city of Centerville would not be where it is today. Not even close. Thank you.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Mayor Harley. And I know, when we think about the individual municipalities and of course, Centerville, perhaps being our smallest, I think it's important for us to remember, though, that these projects do have not only a countywide, but really a regional reach and impact. So I think about the Center Park. and, you know, the incredible events that Centerville has been able to host. As a result of that, I'm not a resident of Centerville, but we have long time been using your recycling facility. And so those are things, again, that enhance our quality of life, you know, throughout our county. And, you know, speaking of recreation with Center Park and the offerings that affords, you know, the city of Centerville, I mean, Warner Robins, of course, has made incredible improvements in recreation. And so, Mayor Patrick, we're going to turn our attention to you and let you borrow the microphone there from the chairman. So if you will, just give us a look back on the successes and accomplishments for the city of Warner Robins on the SPLOST, and then we'll follow up with what's next.
Wonderful. Well, for the city of Warner Robins, we too have benefited in a major way when it comes to SPLOST over the years. All of our departments have had a piece of the SPLOST in some way. So for the police department over the years, we've always gotten our new vehicles, but the new training facility we're going to have is in the works right now. It's not complete, but that is one of the biggest things you can touch and feel that came from a past SPLOST for our police department. For the fire department, we have our new training facility, and I know many people have already seen how great that building is, and a new fire apparatus, which is a truck. For the city hall as a whole, we did some major renovations back in the day, made it look more modern. We still have some work to do when it comes to modernizing our city hall and upgrading our technology. For public works, we did some beautification projects of Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, adding some sidewalks throughout our city to include near Pearl Stevens Elementary School and Welburn Road. We're putting in some drainage ditches over Welburn Road. They're actually finishing up this week. And if you ride down Welburn Road, you will see the moving of dirt and work being done over on Welburn Road, going towards Huntington Middle School. Throughout as far as economic development goes, we've put a lot of funds into the downtown redevelopment, acquisitions of properties, which you've heard the benefit of more recently, as the city now owns over 60% of that historic downtown district, which all came from acquisition funds allocated through SPLOST in the past. For utilities, we have spent $1 million upgrading our wastewater plant, $200,000 for well motor upgrades, and also purchasing of equipment and vehicles throughout the city for all of those essential workers who require vehicles to get their everyday jobs done. When it comes to our parks and rec, which are the main things you can see, touch, and feel, we've done some great things when it came to Ada Lee Park, which many people may not even know where that is. It's on the north side of town, off of Pleasant Hill Road. There were some renovations done there with the metal shelter, some restrooms, basketball court, pavilion. Then we have Wellston Park, which is one of the newer parks in Warner Robins. If you've ever been to the dog park, that is off of Watson across from the Arby's, that is an actual Warner Robins city park, and that is called Wellston Park. So that was from SPLOST dollars. We still have more work to do over there, potentially making some biking and walking trails throughout, trying to really promote walkability in our city and recreation, and promoting biking in a very major way. Simpson Park, we have some renovations that were done there with the dugouts. And Tanner Park, many of you have been there. If you have any children that do Parks and Rec, any children who are on any rec team, you've been to Tanner Park, which is right behind the Houston complex, behind the sheriff's department and the courthouse. You did the 3 football fields there, the concessions, the basketball courts, the playground equipment, all those things are newer. Dolores Tolliver Park, there's a gym there now, a brand new building. That is the result of the SPLOST. The walk at Sandy Run, which is on South Houston Lake. That is one of our newer projects as well. That is a result of SPLOST. Dolores Tolliver has a splash pad that we just did some upgrades on this year. adding in some nice fixtures for that splash pad. And let's see if I'm almost done here. 3 more parks. Memorial Park, we did some renovations for that, adding in 2 full-size basketball courts and a walking track around the park. You gotta check that out. That's right across from Robins Air Force Base. Many people don't know there's a walking track around it, but there is. Fountain Park, we had some renovations done there. And North Houston Sports Complex, which we used fund, it was not a stated project, but funds from our SPLOST was used to pay for that facility, which many of us have seen, touched, and felt as well. So I know it's a mouthful, but that is a good overview of how SPLOST has helped the city of Warner Robins and the citizens of Warner Robins throughout the years.
Well, and Mayor Patrick, like, the fact that you have 3 pages of notes, really just on recreation, for the most part, in addition to the other things, speaks to the impact that this SPLOST has had on our community, and just the opportunities that our municipalities have had to diversify those funds, to spread them across our communities in a way that truly does impact all of our citizens. So it's certainly exciting, and you're right, recreation is, of course, what's most visible, and I know most of you probably haven't been to the new fire training center, but it is state of the art. It is bringing in departments from all across the country and the Southeast who are not only utilizing that facility, but they're spending money in our local establishments, they're filling up with gas and all of these. Did I just lose? We just lost me. There we go. I'm back. The little. I'm scared. Oh.
I'll share mine with you.
All right, we're gonna switch to the black handheld. All right, so there we go. But, you know, again, just incredible use of the resources that we have available through our voters. So, looking to the future, obviously there's a lot to build on, and a lot to get excited about. And oftentimes those that are, you know, most impactful necessarily aren't the most visible or exciting. So if you will share with us perhaps the most impactful projects that are listed in the proposed SPLOST.
Absolutely. Upgrades to our utility system, expanding capacity is extremely impactful that you don't get to see. The developers see it. They need it. They want it. They needed it yesterday. And we're going to be putting SPLOST dollars into doing that so we can continue to grow, expand our livability so new developments can come in for the entire community. So that is going to receive a lot of those SPLOST dollars in this upcoming SPLOST. And then some things that you don't necessarily see will be renovations to our civic center, which has been, it doesn't look as good as it should look. But it is a historic building. I think this year it became historic. So it means something to the community. We want to make sure we are investing in it, make sure it looks nice, and that we are reviving the use of that building however we best see fit when it comes to numbers. Also, as I stated about the walkability promoting walking and biking in our community, you're going to see us do projects which are putting in some walking and biking trails, connecting Wellston Park Trail all the way to, Wellston Trails all the way to Wellston Park. It's going to be a project that's going to take years to complete. It may take a couple of SPLOST to complete, but the point of the matter is that we're going to start somewhere, and we're going to start with SPLOST 24 for that project. Creating some meeting space for the city. We are running out of spaces. We need to have a nice meeting space that people can come and use. That's not the Wellston. The Wellston Center is nice, but it's a little outdated. We need something, you know, newer and nicer to do. But golf course renovations, we'll be doing some of that as well. And investing in some security systems, again, technology, security cameras and things for our public safety to make sure our whole community is safe, and some recycling resources for the citizens of Warner Robins, so we're not just mooching off of Centerville. Thank you, Centerville, for what you do. I know the challenges you face in your facility since you are serving almost our entire community, and thank you for doing that. And we'd love to sit down and make sure that we can help play a part in addressing those concerns for our entire area. Roads and streets, of course, we need to improve those. throughout our entire community, and of course, more acquisitions as we continue to try to beautify and revive and renovate the older parts of our city, the heart of our city, which is the downtown district of Warner Robins.
That's exciting. Thank you so much, Mayor Patrick. I'm gonna borrow your mic and pass it over here, so I'm not swapping. You get the blue one.
Good.
Yes. So, I'm sure you have no idea what I'm gonna ask you, right? Same two questions. So, let's talk a little bit about, those successes. You're dating both of us there.
No, I'm not what my date is.
I know. Yeah, so let's talk about success. I mean, we talk about transformation. The city of Perry, oh my goodness, right? Thinking about back in the 90s to now, it's not the same place, Mayor, and in a very good way, not the same place.
Thank you.
So let's talk about those previous successes.
Well, we will. Again, I'd like to echo what, Mayor Harley says, as well as Mayor Patrick. We owe this to the citizens of Houston County, and it's very important for us to thank them for approving the SPLOST, because, the SPLOST is absolutely critical to the city of Perry to accomplishing the objectives that we have in place to improve the quality of life for all of our citizens. We talk a lot about that, about the quality of life. Without the SPLOST, it would be virtually impossible to do the things that we have been able to do. I know over the last 10 years, there's been a large amount of focus on our transportation corridors throughout the county. But Perry has really benefited from a large number of those projects. If you look at the road projects that affected Perry, things like widening of Lake Joy Road, the widening of Houston Lake Road to 5 lanes down to Perry Parkway, and now we have just completed, or the county has just completed, the 3-laning of Houston Lake Road all the way down to Kings Chapel. So that's having a tremendous impact on our transportation corridors there in Perry. So it makes a whole lot of difference. And of course, I think the infamous one is the Bridge to Nowhere. If all of you remember back about 10 years ago, we had a beautiful bridge sitting out in the middle of the forest in Perry, but now it's called the Ball Street Extension. And so it serves one of our major industries there in town, and it has taken a lot of traffic. My citizens don't think that it's taken a lot of traffic off, but it's taken a lot of traffic off of our downtown streets with timber coming in and leaving the Interfor plant there. So there's been a lot of things, but there's a lot of apparent things too. If you look at our Davis Farm Fire Station, that is results of SPLOST. We would not have that if we didn't, had not had the funding through the SPLOST dollars. We built a new animal control facility that is there in downtown Perry, and so that is a SPLOST project as well. But there's been a lot of focus in the city of Perry relative to blight. We're quite concerned about blight. We think it has a real deterrent on economic development in our city, and so we have been aggressive in taking houses and taking businesses that are blighted. One of our best successes was the old Stanley Furniture Store that sat right in the heart of our downtown, and the roof was caving in, and everybody that came to town, that's the first thing they saw, and that was a horrible impression. And by using SPLOST dollars and some other things, we were able to acquire that property, tear that down, and now it's a beautiful green space that we use as an in-town park. And so that was very, very critical to us to get that cleaned up. Another thing that's going on right now, and you will see that happening, is along Houston Lake Drive. We're buying up houses that are blighted there, and then we're including that in the A.D. Redmond Park. So that will become a larger park space right there on one of our major thoroughfares coming into town. So that was one of the issues, but there's been a lot of talk about health and, sidewalks and walking paths and all. We have really been focused on that in Perry for a while now, and we have what we call a connectivity plan. It defines where every one of our sidewalks are today, where our gaps are, where all of our trails are, where our bike paths are. So how do we connect all of those together so that we become a very walkable city? And we utilized a good bit of the SPLOST money this past year, or last 5 years, to continue to fill in those gaps. So every time we find a gap that we can fill in at the time, we'll build a new sidewalk to connect those two. So through the years, we hope that we'll have a very walkable city there in Perry.
That's amazing, absolutely critical, and like we said, a lot of these aren't things that people necessarily get excited about, like the sidewalk, Mayor, but you know when it's not there. You know when you don't have that opportunity
have to
to get
walk in
from
the
one
street.
place,
Yeah.
right, from one place to another, whether it's recreationally or, you know, for need-based transportation. So that's very exciting to hear the great work that y'all have been doing. So let's look to the future and those projects that you think are going to have the biggest impact for the city of Perry.
Well, I think the three major things that I'm going to look at that are really critical is the countywide projects that have been assigned to Perry. One is a brand new road that we will be building. Again, we're focused on transportation. That will be called, it's either the Commodore Drive or Langston Drive extension, which will run from Langston Drive on Houston Lake Road all the way down to Saddle Creek, which will run through a major area of development that's going on right now, and there's no accessibility in that area. So that road will be, we have the construction drawings. We'll start working on accomplishing that over the next 6 years. We're also, St. Patrick's Drive is a interstate side road that runs from St. Patrick's Drive all the way up to the Perry Parkway, which will open up a large amount of retail space or commercial development space there in Perry. But one of the things that I'm extremely excited about is the development of a new regional park. We do not feel like we're adequately serving the eastern or northeastern side of our city, east of Houston Lake, if you know where I'm speaking of there along 127. We feel like that we need to have a regional park to serve those citizens in Perry as well. So we'll be looking at buying the necessary acreage in there to put a new park in that area.
Very exciting indeed. Thank you so much, Mayor Walker. I'm going to pass the blue mic back down to the chairman. So we're going to widen our aperture a little bit and look at those county projects of significance that have had a positive impact on our community to this point, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, so when I think about the beginnings of the SPLOST and how a lot of it had to do with establishing a judicial center and building our jail and our courthouse, what was at the time called the New Perry Courthouse down on Perry Parkway. And now, a little more than 20 years on, I'm not sure we can refer to it as new any longer. But then I think about that sort of being one of the first SPLOST projects that happened, and then 20 years later, we're now moving the state courthouse to that facility, expanding it, and it really is a full circle moment for a project of significant impact in Houston County, and we're excited about that. The mayors have mentioned several transportation projects. I think about the widening of Fagan Mill Road that happened in 3 phases over a long period of time, but is now complete and really goes from Perry all the way up into Warner Robinson Centerville, very close there. And so when I think about projects like that, and when I really ride along a lot of the roads that we are responsible for in this county, and I think about how good they are, how nice they are. Mayor Walker talked about sidewalks, and I don't think he mentioned it's now possible to get on a sidewalk in the city of Perry and walk all the way on sidewalk to the city of Warner Robins. Wow. And that's because of SPLOST dollars, and it may seem like a minor deal, but I assure you it's not minor to the people who live along those roads. And so when I think about what the SPLOST has accomplished, I think about, first of all, those big banner projects and the aquatic center that's being built currently. It'll be opened in just a little while here. We're excited about that. You got lots of transportation projects, but I also think about the minor things that sometimes we don't think about. The SPLOST has historically been used to support our libraries to a very high degree. Every single time almost every single time we've authorized the SPLOST, we've set aside countywide money to go into our libraries. There's a library in every city we have in the county, and it allows them to purchase computers, to purchase technology, to purchase books, to keep those libraries in good shape, and to serve the citizens of Houston County through libraries. When I think about the mobile data terminals that the SPLOST purchased for every essentially policing organization, all 3 cities and the sheriff's department, that really operate as a force multiplier. Those things are not the big banner projects that you're going to see when you drive by a sign and it says your pennies at work, but they are important nonetheless to contribute to the quality of life in this community. And as the mayors have said, we are very thankful to the citizens of Houston County. I was talking to our attorney Tom Hall the other day about millage rates, and we had this long discussion, and then he goes, as long as we have the SPLOST. And it is important to remember it is a big caveat on every budget discussion that we have, both in the county, and I know it is for the cities as well, that as long as the SPLOST is there paying for those capital improvements, it allows us to focus on hiring more sheriff's deputies, hiring more police officers, hiring more firefighters, serving the citizens of Houston County with really the high level of efficiency and effectiveness that they want to see in this county.
Very good. So as a reminder, we're gonna talk about the projects coming forward. There are cards on your tables as we move to the projects that will be proposed in this SPLOST. You also have, Mayor Patrick, if you'll share yours, this lovely guide on your table that you can utilize that gives you some visuals of some of the impact of the SPLOST as well as what's proposed. So looking ahead, Mr. Chairman, what are you most excited about in this proposed SPLOST?
Yeah, so for 2024, there's really all of the countywide projects and all of the projects that each of the municipalities are doing are excellent projects, and I hope you'll take note of those things and look at the information and really, if you can find one project that you can get behind, then this SPLOST is worth supporting, and I hope you'll do that. We had a lady who came to one of our public hearings. We have to have public hearings on the SPLOST, and we all participated, and she said, I showed up tonight planning to say that I was opposed to the SPLOST, but then y'all talked about a new animal shelter, and so now I'm for the SPLOST. And so I think up and down the board, there is probably some quality of life issue that you're concerned about in this county that we're serving. But when I think about the animal shelter that will be in the city of Warner Robins, that both unincorporated Houston County, Centerville, and Warner Robins use to serve citizens, that we're hoping is in a more accessible place and is more adoption friendly for animals, I get excited about that. When I think about the Arts Center that's going to host everything from the next greatest touring singer-songwriter all the way down to a gathering of 3,000 citizens to talk about the important issues, to collaboration. We're collaborating with the Board of Education on that project, to the latest one-act play that our high schools and middle schools, I don't know if middle school does one act, sorry, I'm not that informed, but whatever productions they want to do, we're excited about that. And then specifically, we do a lot of transportation projects, but when I look at the Thompson Mill Road extension, we really, that is classified as a transportation project, but we view it in large part as a public safety project. We've got a small city hanging off the end of Thompson Mill Road out there, and we're going to loop that road back around to 247 so that those neighborhoods and communities and a school that is there very early on Thompson Mill Road have access from both ends of that road. And we think that'll, like the mayor talked about, open up a lot of land for development. But most importantly, it gives people, in the case of a road washout or a main break or power lines down or anything else, you don't have to call your boss and say, I can't make it to work this morning. And it keeps traffic flowing on for those folks in neighborhoods. So lots of things to be excited about. I hope the folks who are here this morning will both educate yourself And we'll also, as you go out, talk to the community about these projects and what's important to you, and find things that are important to the folks you're talking to.
Very good, thank you so much. So I'm gonna ask our helpers if they will move to the corners of the room. If you have a question, please hold your card up. They will grab those and bring them in. Mr. Chairman, I wanna ask you one more question before we get into any that we might have from the audience here. And that's just sharing a little bit about the historic support of the SPLOST that we have seen here in Housing County. We talk about our legacy of leadership. We talk about unprecedented cooperation that we have here. As has been reiterated by everybody on this stage, it wouldn't be possible, these projects that we've mentioned, without the citizen support of this law. So what does that support look like historically?
Yeah, so we have had historically at the ballot box, and both in community forums like this, really good public support for SPLOST. The last SPLOST passed with about 80% of the vote. And so in talking to some community leaders, my good friend Jack Lester said, well, what are you worried about then? And I think what we're worried about is that we somehow miss the ball, and that we don't talk about it enough, and people don't realize all the good that it has accomplished and that it will accomplish in this community. And so, I think while we are excited about the SPLOST and we recognize the good that it has done in this community, there can be a general sentiment out there sometimes among citizens that government is no good and all they want to do is tax us more. And we're really trying to say and demonstrate to our folks that this is a good use of your tax dollars. It's a good use of that extra penny that you spend every time you go to a restaurant or buy movie tickets or anything else out in our community. And it's done in a very good and equitable fashion that citizens can see the results of it. So the election is going to be held November 7th, and that coincides with city elections. But I hope as you get out and talk to your friends and neighbors about the SPLOST, you will remind them that it is happening, encourage them to educate themselves about it. But historically in this community, it has been a wonderful opportunity not only to allow our citizens to have input into what's going on in the capital projects that were done. As we said, we had public hearings and we listened and we adapted to those public hearings. But it also is a good opportunity to demonstrate the collaboration and the cooperation between three cities and a county that, like you said, April, you don't see every day. So we're very excited for this new program, and just want to make sure everybody's informed about it.
Very good. I'm going to take a second and make sure I can read this handwriting. So while I do that, if you can share.
If I write it, you can.
If you can share real quick, I know Election Day is November 7th, but early voting obviously opens up very early here. Can we talk a little bit about when that opens? Where people, you don't know.
You're way ahead of me there, April. But early voting will happen. So while she runs these questions, let me tell you how to figure out where you can vote and when early voting will happen. All right. So the Secretary of State has. Don't look at me. Well, the Secretary of State has a page called My Voter Page. Go Mayor Patrick.
Early voting
makes a dream work.
Early voting begins the second week of October. So look for it on the ballot.
Thank you, Mayor Patrick. That's a great demonstration of cooperation and collaboration.
Right there, at its finest.
So you can also, if you go to My Voter Page on the Secretary of State, you can put in your address, your birthday, your name, and it will tell you exactly where to go to vote as well.
Okay. All right. I'm going to attempt to read this one. So, thank you for your past support of House and Health Care. Is there any thought about indigent care, serving indigent care, and capital improvements that support quality of life? I'm assuming for that particular segment.
So, in the past, we have had ambulances in the SPLOST, and we have countywide projects, and we've done other things for Houston Healthcare in the SPLOST. I think, we are constantly cognizant of the need to care for the least of these in our community. Got to enjoy the mayor and several members of her staff and several community leaders interacting and talking about yesterday the homeless shelter that's happening and how we care for our friends and neighbors who need those types of services, specifically with regards to house and health care and ambulances or indigent care. There's nothing in the SPLOST this year, but there are other funding sources that Charles Briscoe and I have talked about recently utilizing to help serve those needs there.
Very good. And the last question is specific to the Thompson Mill extension. Is there, or what is the projected time frame as to when that will start to be extended?
So we're still working through what exactly is the priority of each of these countywide projects, and as we want to stay flexible with that, because we don't begin to collect this money again until October 1st of 2024, and so it won't be before October 1st, 2024. But as we move through projects, we will prioritize, and I think each of the cities has their priorities for what they would like to see in countywide projects. So I cannot commit to a firm timeline. There are projects on the list that are very time sensitive, and there are projects on the list that are less time sensitive. So I would be happy, whoever wrote that question, if you want to snag me afterwards and lobby for that project to have high priority, I am very willing to listen to that. But countywide projects currently, they don't have a priority or order. But I do want to point out one thing that is unique about how we manage SPLOST is we do not spend the SPLOST money until we have it in hand, right? We don't pass a SPLOST and then go out and get loans. And so that means that the projects can take a little bit longer to finish. But it also means that we're not paying a lot of interest with our SPLOST money. That all of that money, that the vast majority of that money goes into the ground, goes into those buildings, goes into public safety, and we think that's an appropriate way to manage it. So projects take a little longer. Once the SPLOST is approved, all of that money is being used in the right places.
Thank you so much for that thorough explanation, because it does help set the expectation and just a greater understanding of the structure of the SPLOST. So if you will, please join me in thanking our panel for their contributions today. Yep, Mayor Patrick's got one thing, and then I'm going to let them lead the stage, and I'll explain that in just a second. Go ahead.
I just wanted to thank the Chamber for doing this event. There are a lot of things that elected officials can't say when it comes to the SPLOST. We can say thank you for all the past support. We can say we appreciate your support for SPLOST 24, but we cannot do this. We cannot produce a document such as this that the Chamber has done. We cannot spend money to show you all the great things and how it benefits our entire community. So without the Chamber doing this to really advocate for how great this SPLOST 24 is, we would be at a disadvantage. So thank you for doing what none of us could have done. This speaks so many volumes as to how valuable this is in our entire community. So thank you so much, and for realizing that we couldn't have done this, but you can. So
very good. Thank you so much. And as she mentioned, there are things they can't do, so I'm going to ask them to leave the stage and bring up my good buddy Jay Flesher, who is the one responsible for that document on your seats, to talk about the SPLOST and talk about what they can't ask you to do, which is to encourage your yes vote for the SPLOST and give you a little bit of information about how you can support that individually and as an organization. I think that might work, but I'll stand up just in case I need to hand you this one.
Well, let's see. I'm so used to moving my hands and everything else, so we'll do this. So let's one more time. Give these guys a great hand for all their support of what they do for our community, but also the leadership that they bring to the table. 30 years ago when I came to town, I saw a community that was growing, but I saw a lot of one road or two lane streets, a lot of cornfields, a lot of agriculture. But I also saw opportunity for me and my family. And in that time, I didn't know what the SPLOST was. I didn't know the impact that it could have. I didn't know where we could go with it. But I also knew that we had good governance. And we had access to good governance. That if you are interested in it, you can make and reach out to each one of these gentlemen, and they will spend time with you to talk about your issues that they have in their community. And that's a very important part that we have here. What's interesting here over the last 30 years, though, is we've continued to grow. Especially over the last 8 to 10 years, we've continued to grow. In seeing how a SPLOST only comes up about every 6 years, you have a huge amount of people come in that have no idea how we've gotten here. And it's important for us to continue to share that message to them. That's the reason why we're announcing today we're standing up a new citizens organization called Citizens for a Greater Houston County. And the purpose of that organization is to promote the greatness of what happens in and around our SPLOST campaigns, both eSPLOST and SPLOST, but this one is SPLOST. And give citizens the opportunity to lend their support so we can share the message. As they have said, they can't tell you or ask you to go vote yes. But if you join our organization as far as the committee is concerned, we're going to go out and follow them around everywhere they go and say, can you vote yes for this?
Yeah.
It makes sense, right? It makes sense. So the things we have that we're going to end up doing is we're going to do publications, we're going to do social media, we're going to do yard signs, we're going to do billboards, we're going to do all this, but you can't do it for free. So we're also trying to raise money and support that way because we're looking for time and talents. That if you have some time and want to lend your support to going around and sharing the message of positiveness that's coming out of the SPLOST, but want to do that, come join us and we'll get that organized. We're organizing it as we speak. Matter of fact, the last 3 weeks we've been working pretty hard and heavy at it. But at the end of the day, we also need funds. We're looking at a budget currently of about $25,000. If I can find 250 great citizens to give me $100, we'll be at that number. But it doesn't always come that easy. If you're willing to support this organization in allowing us to go out and promote a yes campaign on this SPLOST, please reach out to me, April at the chamber. And we'll make sure that we actually get that organized. I think the last final thing that I sort of want to say, we haven't gotten here by accident. And if we don't promote the fact that we've had such a huge population come in and the importance of letting them know how we've gotten here, that's probably the key to this. So from that perspective, vote yes, lend your time and talents. If you want to lend us a little bit of money, please reach out to us today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jay, and I think that's a timely reminder for all of us. My counterparts across the state in the southeast ask often what kind of magnetic force fields we have for all of these people coming to our area to live, work, and play. And of course, it's the educational excellence and quality of life and all of these things, but we know that those are due in large part to the growth planning, the infrastructure, and the resources made possible by things like the SPLOST, our attractive property tax environment, and all of those things, again, made possible by the SPLOST. So what they can't do is ask you to vote yes. It's on the last slide. It's big. We're asking you to vote yes on this. If you represent a civic organization, a church group, any other group that would be willing to learn about these past successes as well as future opportunities, we would love to get our elected leaders in front of them. They have agreed to go on this rubber chicken tour, as we're calling it, to go out and educate the community. And then, as we always do with these events, we're going to send a recap email of this event with all of the resources and information. We'll have a digital copy of that guide. There'll be a link in there where you can say, yes, I'd like to support this financially. And you can click there, and that's going to connect you directly with Jay. As your Chamber of Commerce, our board has taken a very early and very strong positive stance on this again, both our commitment to this SPLOST, but also our commitment to educating our community. So thanks again for being with us. It's always great to gather this group. Couple of housekeeping reminders. If you will, drop those name tags on the table as you leave. There are also the note cards. The partnership set up over here in the corner. In addition to the supplies they're collecting for our deployed airmen, they are collecting 30,000 notes. If you didn't have time to write your letter now, that's okay. Take it with you. You can then drop it off at the chamber or at our next Eggs and Issues, where you'll see Deborah set up over there once again to collect those cards and donations. And then we'll be back here together with you guys on October 5th, hearing from Charles Briscoe and the leadership of House and Healthcare. We heard a little bit about healthcare and the important role that House and Healthcare plays in our community. We're going to get to hear even more about that. And then, of course, we'll have our joint business after hours with the Perry Chamber on the 19th of October. As always, our website has all of the information about ways that you can connect and engage. If you want to follow us today, we've got 2 ribbon cuttings today, again, celebrating growth in our great community. But thank you all for being here. Thank you again to our elected officials for leading us, our event sponsors. It's been a great morning spent with you, and that's all we've got. So thank you so much. Y'all have a great day.